What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another episode of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me, as always, are the usual suspects here. We've got Robert DeFelice.
Hello.
And Callum Wiggins.
Hey.
So, we took care of the hot tags. We are on episode 358, if I remember correctly, and we are on the main event, which is going to be something that we haven't actually done in the past. We've done plenty of tournament stuff, but this is going to be like a bookend kind of a thing. Earlier in the year, we were just kind of talking about maybe doing some kind of a fall tournament, and it kind of balances out a little bit of how we do the March tournament. March and / April is Smark Madness, and then in the summer we have the Sexiest WWE Superstars tournament. So it'd be kind of nice to do one in the fall too, because it's like balance it out in threes. And Callum actually came up with the idea of calling it Champsgiving. And I immediately loved it because I love my puns and stuff like that and my little word plays. So put that on the back burner, worked on that a little bit here and there, and this is what we got for you. 2018 inaugural Champsgiving tournament is going to function as follows. We are going to have 6 rounds because there are actually enough to be able to do almost a 64-person tournament instead of my usual 32. I had thought that, maybe we would do 16, make it real quick, just do it in November, that kind of a thing. But then I started looking at the possibilities of where do we start. And I really, no matter what, couldn't figure out a better way to start other than WWE World Champions. Problem with that, how do you tell people that they can only remember the WWE Championship runs and not the World Heavyweight Championship runs or the Universal Heavyweight Championship runs? Something like a Brock Lesnar, he just came off of a really long Universal title run. Well, if you say that that's not something that counts and it's only the WWE Championship itself, people are going to have that skew their perception. So I figured the only way that we could do this is to incorporate all 3 and just have it be world champions in WWE. So all 3 titles are factored in here, which means we got up to, I think it was 61 official, it was 60 official WWE champions. Then we have 1 who is not really official, but kind of is. And then we have 1 who I kind of gave a little bit of like leeway to. And then we have 2 bye rounds because I had left it open that maybe Braun Strowman could win. This is when I was planning this out. And that maybe Samoa Joe could win. So we don't have Braun Strowman as the Universal Champion. We don't have Samoa Joe as the WWE Champion. 2 bye rounds. And we're not going to break down every match that's going on here for the first round. And then, of course, round 2, round 3, and all that other kind of stuff. What we're going to do here is we're going to give you a preview of the tournament itself, our perspective of people that could potentially win, maybe some people who are like underdogs and they can come back and really make it really far, the way that the tournament is seeded, all the other kind of stuff like that. So first things first, I just want to ask you guys, Champsgiving tournament, if you're given the idea of best world champion, do you think that this is going to be an easy tournament, or you think that this is going to be something that people are going to really be like stuck going, man, I don't know who to vote for between these 2 and these 2 and these 5 and that kind of thing?
It depends on who's voting and what the median age is, because like for me, this is actually a very fun tournament. It's going to be hard to vote for. I don't know about you guys, but I see a lot of really good names here that don't often get as much praise as they should. So I'm looking forward to this tournament.
What do you think of Callum?
I think it'll start off quite easy to determine. I mean, obviously, it's been. I assume your process of like sorting out the brackets has tried to eliminate some of the deadwood as soon as possible, because there have been some pretty bad world champions in the course of history, and it'll be good to get them like out the way pretty quickly. But as things start to progress, I think it'll start to become a little bit more like Rob says, a bit more of an age generation aspect of it, and I think it might be quite competitive because I'm sure there's a number of people that like follow wrestling history and understand the significance of people even as far back to the 70s and 80s, even earlier in some instances. So it will be interesting to see who people do just consider to be the greatest champion. I don't think it's cut and dry by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, you brought up the idea of the placement of these different people, and normally on a tournament, what I like to do is I like to take half of the tournament team options, or whatever the case may be. It's not teams technically; it's usually individuals. But I usually like sort of look at that and go, all right, who are the people that I think people are going to vote for the most, and then who are the people that I think are going to vote for the least, and then I pair them off and try to knock them out in the first round. This time around, I figured, you know what, we actually have a legitimate means to seed the tournament instead of just based off of entirely opinion. So I went with seeding them top to bottom based off of their combined days as champion, which that led to some interesting things because there's some people that I think really should be going past the first round that aren't going to be able to because they're up against people that are just in the same sort of range. But there's also people that maybe they've had a really, really bad world title reign. It just happened to be a long one, and they're ranked a lot higher. It's really kind of an odd situation. And the first thing I want to mention as far as the bye rounds go for that is, since there are 2 byes, I figured it's only justifiable in my mind the 2 bye rounds go to the top 2, Bruno Sammartino and Hulk Hogan. They're going to get past whoever they're up against in the first round. They might as well just get the byes. You know what I mean? They deserve it.
Agreed.
They're the fair 2.
Yeah.
To go with.
But looking at how the seeding ended up going, I mean, I'm looking on like the left-hand side right here, Jinder Mahal and The Miz. That's something that like I would assume probably both of them would be knocked out in the first round if they were up against plenty of other people. I'm assuming The Miz is going to win that one, of course, but that'd be kind of interesting that, like, how would you expect to see that, like, round 2 of this tournament would see Bruno Sammartino against The Miz, you know? Like,
Well, I mean, it's kind of like a warm-up match. It's almost like, hey, I'm not last place, but I'm going to beat the guy that will be last place. And then they're going to lose to Bruno because Bruno at least should make it to round 3 or 4.
I mean, he's got 2 potential really, really strong contenders in that round 3 kind of thing because round 1, I mean, it's Undertaker, Khali. We're all going Khali, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah, Undertaker's
the
moving
iconic
on.
summer of 07, man. Ugh.
Like you'd have to assume Undertaker wins that one, and then I would have to assume Shawn Michaels beats out Sergeant Slaughter. But that actually is, if you're being a little bit fair, even though Shawn Michaels is my favorite of all time, there's actually at least a little bit of an argument for Slaughter there.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
The only reason Slaughter was ever a world champion was just so they could put somebody in a turban for WrestleMania 7 to have Hogan defend the honor of America.
Yeah, but you know what, though? I could see that being a tougher fight than Undertaker Khali. That's what I mean.
Well, anything is a tougher fight when it comes to greatest world champions than Khali. I'd put The Miz and Mahal over Khali.
And then, of course, that means that we would get Undertaker and Michaels. And that's like, that's pretty interesting. The winner of that'll end up doing Bruno. And, that's why...
Where I've heard that before. Undertaker against Shawn Michaels.
Like going through this list though, like Stan Stasiak against Randy Orton. I'm assuming that there's of course going to be a bias for more like modern day things and attitude and new generation type era people, because how many people are really going to vote for Stan Stasiak,
Sean would. Not our Sean Stasiak.
It depends on the amount of inhabitants on planet Stasiak at the moment.
Well, this match in particular, I think, is one of the most interesting. JBL is going to go up against Ric Flair in round 1. And it'll be kind of fun to see if people can ignore Ric Flair's WCW title reigns and NWA title reigns. Because this is best champions in WWE. And I would go so far as to say that there's a case to say JBL should beat out Ric Flair. It's kind of tough.
I think people are going to look at the word best world champion. They're going to completely lose WWE at that point and say, well, Ric Flair obviously has to win. But I think you're right. If we're talking strictly from a WWE context, JBL absolutely beats out Ric Flair.
No, he doesn't. That's like saying that Dean Ambrose, when he was United States champion, beats out loads of other United States champions because he held the belt a long time. He defended it like 5 times. JBL's title run was cancer for SmackDown. Absolute. It was the thing that turned SmackDown from a reasonably balanced show towards Raw to being the B show and putting it into the doldrums for years and years and years.
It could be argued, though, that Ric Flair's run was so bad that it made Vince go, all right, I can't do this anymore. I need some youth, you know? Well,
I think that was probably more due to the fact that Hulk Hogan and all his steroids were going away. So they kind of had to, they decided to move on with people like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels instead. I think, even though Ric Flair's combined title reigns in WWE were probably, like, maybe not even half what JBL's one title reign was, they were far more significant than anything JBL ever did. And the fact that Ric Flair won it in a Royal Rumble and everything. It's like JBL's. I don't want to see based on just principle. I don't want to see JBL progress past the first round.
I mean, the reality is round 2 could be Stan Stasiak versus JBL.
That's what's weird about the placement of these kind of things. Like, I mean, I'm assuming, of course, Ivan Koloff is not going to beat Bret Hart. I would argue Bret Hart 100% in that regard.
I mean, he beat Bruno Sammartino, so it's got a shot.
Ivan Koloff, I think, of all the older names on this list, Ivan Koloff is one of those that if people know their history, he could get a win.
He better not.
I wouldn't say over Bret. Some people maybe, but I think Bret Hart is pretty safe.
Ultimate Warrior Goldberg.
It's Goldberg in WWE.
I know, and that's like, god damn it, like, we're gonna get Ultimate Warrior in the second round.
I know, that's also quite horrifying.
You think Goldberg's gonna fall?
Oh yeah.
Of course. Well, it's WWE. Goldberg's one really good World Championship reign was in WCW. His WWE one was terrible.
We're giving people a lot of credit here to say that they're gonna be very, genuine and, well, let's assume their WWE run. I think people might just look at Goldberg versus Warrior and say Goldberg was the bigger star and better champion.
I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't care because Ultimate Warrior is a despicable human being and shouldn't get anywhere beyond this tournament, really. It's horrifying enough that he has to be on this thing just because he did hold the WWE Championship for as long as he did. But like, I'd take Goldberg. I'd take anybody pretty much over him.
Ultimate Warrior was the only person to ever pin Hogan clean during Hogan's Monster Hulkamania run, but Goldberg ended what many people like to call Triple H's reign of terror.
He didn't end it; he temporarily stalled it.
Well, the man had to get married.
Back.
The man had to get married, Callum.
He had to get married, and he was struggling with a thigh injury and stuff like that. And then, as soon as he was healthy and he'd been through the honeymoon, he was right back with the championship. But he did. But we also forget that Goldberg is also a Universal Champion, a former Universal Champion.
Yeah, that's right.
So he technically has held 2 titles.
Yeah, but you know what?
One into WrestleMania.
One of those was just like, let's take it off of Kevin Owens so he can lose it at WrestleMania, that kind of thing and stuff. And that's still like a pretty fresh wound.
Yeah. Well, a lot of reigns are like that because I hate to break it to you, Tony, but it's fake. It's pretty. It's like, oh, we'll just take the title of this guy to give it to this guy.
Wait a minute. You can't shatter my world like this, Callum.
Look, it's still real to me, damn it. Man, talking about like blowout things though, John Cena against Finn Balor, that's going to be the easiest vote, I think, probably.
If Finn Balor gets 1 vote, people are full of shit. Like,
right.
So Finn Balor's got a combined total of 1 day as a world champion. Am I correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm not counting NXT championships.
Yeah. So how many days has John Cena been world champion? Do we know?
You know what? Let me bring
just combined world champions. It's probably close to. It's probably well over 1,000 at this point.
Let me bring that up because I do have those notes because I needed to figure that out ahead of time and stuff like that. Let me bring up my Excel sheet. But in the meantime, while that's loading, because for some reason it's taking a while.
If we're talking WWE World Championships, Cena's got the record. And
16, yeah.
Yeah, it could even be argued that if Hogan wasn't going to get the bye, Cena could. You know what I mean? Just because he is one of the bigger world champions of all time.
Yeah, I actually, originally I was thinking of doing it based off of the amount of times that they won. And then it was like, there was too many people that are like 2-time champs and stuff. And then everybody's like kind of on the same page and stuff. John Cena is a combined of 1,412 days.
So
he
basically, he should get
number 4 ranked.
So basically, he should get 1,412 times the number of votes that Finn Balor gets on this thing.
He pretty much should. Yeah, the top ones for anybody that's interested, just in case they can't figure it out by the bracket themselves. Bruno, then Hogan, then Backlund, then Cena, Triple H, Brock Lesnar, Pedro Morales, Randy Orton, and the top 10 final one is Bret Hart. Then actually CM Punk is number 11. And the ones that are the bottom ranked, we talked about how like one of them is Finn Balor. He is actually ranked number 62. He is even with Andre the Giant because Andre had that one-day title reign. And there are actually 3 things that are 0. One of them, of course, being... Oh, actually, 2 of them being vacant, because vacant doesn't get anything. Although I was actually thinking of trying to calculate one vacant spot and actually giving quote-unquote vacant as a champion, and just say like, man, vacant has won it a lot because a lot of people have vacated the title and like different things like that and give him like a spot like that. I really thought about doing that, but then I was like
he's defeated Shawn Michaels, he's defeated
several times.
Edge.
He defeated Shawn Michaels
so many times. I wanted to do that just because you got to factor it's all those titles. It's all, you know, the time after Finn Balor lost the title, the Universal title. It's the times after the World Heavyweight Championship, the WWE Championship. So vacant could have been quite up there, but I said no. And the other one I'll get to when we get to it, but like that's like how we came about with a lot of those kind of things. And there's no reason that anybody should vote for Finn Balor over John Cena.
Absolutely not.
Kevin Owens and Big Show, that's like a thing that's going to go like 50-50, I think. I would lean more towards Big Show, but we'll see. Steve Austin and Christian, that's the kind of thing that like, poor Christian, man. He's going to get his ass whooped.
Hold on, don't just say that match. Say the one after that, Tony. Steve Austin gets Christian and The Rock gets Jack Swagger. Boy, were you trying to pigeonhole this Steve Austin Rock matchup or what?
No, this is exactly how it planned out. I mean, I got the seating. You know, I did you rank that all in Excel, put them in order. Say, I think it was like printmybrackets.com or something like that is the one that like does the seating for you. And that's how it worked. And I was like, all right, shit. Well, that means round 2, we have Steve Austin and The Rock.
And The Rock and Steve Austin are 2 of the most like celebrated world champions of all time.
Right.
But they didn't actually, they had like just a load of short reigns, realistically.
And it's kind of like, no matter what, one of them has to go. And we won't have, that's still round 3, round 4, round 5 semifinals, and then the finals before we, you know, get to crown a winner here. And that's like, if you're going best WWE stars of all time, Steve Austin and The Rock have to be in the semifinals, if not the finals. They're not going to make it past round 2. And there's a solid chance that they don't make it past round 3, because round 3, they're most likely going to be going up against John Cena. Isn't that crazy?
Well, everyone's got to get eliminated at the end of the day.
Well,
except one person, obviously.
All right. So I'll put you on the spot. Best world champion, pick a winner, Austin or Rock.
I mean, push comes to shove, I'm going to go with Austin, yeah.
I would go with Austin too.
And obviously The Rock is the most recent champion out of all of them, having won the title in 2012 for a short period, but it's just Austin's ones felt more significant.
I'll do you one better too. If it comes down to John Cena and Steve Austin, I'm going John Cena.
Absolutely.
No, I haven't decided that one yet. it's too much of a burdensome pick at the moment.
You got a couple of weeks at least.
Yeah.
Now here's the juggernaut in this is Triple H. He's going to easily beat Andre the Giant, of course. And in round 2, he's going to go up against either Chris Jericho or Rey Mysterio. I'm assuming Chris Jericho. And he'll probably beat Chris Jericho. But, Chris Jericho's got a lot of passionate fans. So he could go that far.
Chris Jericho and Rey Mysterio have two of the worst world championship reigns in WWE history. In terms of Jericho's undisputed championship reign and Rey Mysterio's first run as world champion. Because they were kind of just like secondary characters with the world championship.
Yeah, it's kind of like what Punk was.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much. There was like guys that were technically the big stars because they held the title, but just were beaten by everyone, really. Just never lost the title.
With Ray, it kind of goes back to what you were saying about JBL. That was his one rival that he was able to beat, and SmackDown to me never felt less than when after Ray won that belt, and that whole run from 22 to before Taker gets it at 23.
Let's see what we have here. Batista and Iron Sheik. That'll be kind of interesting because that's kind of old school, new school, depending on what people go for. Diesel and Dean Ambrose, again, it's another one of those scenarios where I wouldn't imagine Diesel and Dean Ambrose going up against each other in some kind of a tournament like this, but that's the way that the seeding planned itself out.
Callum, who do you vote for there?
Ambrose.
Why?
Because Diesel killed the company with his title. Realistically, I should vote for Diesel, but I hate Kevin Nash with a real passion, and I just hate everything he stands for, really. And he can't really stand that much anymore because his legs are all fucked. And good riddance for it. But Ambrose's reign was terrible as well, so I can't so realistically, I should just give it to Diesel. But then hopefully he gets eliminated by Batista after that.
I'm looking at this section of the bracket, just this bottom, bottom 8 people on the left-hand side. I'm looking at that as, well, Triple H goes into round 4.
Yeah, probably. I know, because I always remember, Rob, you saying a phrase which just echoes in my ears. I don't know if we were actually recording when you said it or not. It was a long time ago, but it just sticks with me. Diesel had one of the most underrated world championship runs in history, and I nearly, if I could have punched you through my screen, I would have done.
Now, the reason I defend that particular run isn't because I actually think, wow, it produced good matches or anything like that. It's just that Nash was the first champion that had to do the pay-per-view every month schedule. And Nash was also the last champion for 10 years to get an extended reign with the belt. And I put him above a lot of people to come down in the last 10 years, some of the people that we've been talking about, Mahal, Swagger, Miz, Ambrose.
Some real competition there.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I can completely understand that you hate Kevin Nash and that 95 was the worst year in the company's history, but I also think you have to cut him some slack when it comes to certain circumstances of his title reign.
I don't have to cut him anything. He got ridiculously rich after leaving WWE. I think he's doing fine with me just killing him for just being.
I mean, I will absolutely vote Batista over Nash, but I'm not voting Ambrose over Nash.
And Batista's going to go further in this tournament, most likely, than The Rock and Austin, just by sheer placement, which is kind of weird. That's where it comes in with, if this was an opinion-based thing that I was doing, like I usually do with, the Smark Madness and such, I wouldn't have put Batista in that top tier. I would have put him in that, is he in the 50-50 middle range of... I probably would have broken it down into 4s. I probably would have had, the top quarter, then, the other quarter of, really, really good, and then a quarter of, kind of bad, and then a quarter of, awful ones. And Batista probably would have been in, the C bracket, almost, to me. But hey, he's going to have to end up going a little bit further just because he got a really good placement, and Triple H will fucking destroy him. Opposite side, though, the right-hand side, we got Hulk Hogan in a bye round, so bye round wins. Daniel Bryan and Kane, who got Team Hell No against each other.
I'm glad I don't have to watch that match again.
AJ Styles and Bray Wyatt, like that one's going to be difficult.
I wanted to go back to the Daniel Bryan Kane one quick because I'm just going to assume that even though I think it will be closer than I expect, just because Kane had that decent World Championship run, that Bryan would win that match. I'd be very interested in what the result of the Hulk Hogan Daniel Bryan one is going to be. Because realistically, it should be Hogan.
It should be Hogan by a landslide.
But Hogan's a very polarizing figure, and Daniel Bryan's a very beloved overall figure.
Mm-hmm. I think it'll be a lot closer than it should be.
Yeah, I think it'll come down. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Daniel Bryan knock out Hulk Hogan in the second round.
Just out of bias.
I hope he doesn't.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't.
If it does, then I'll know that people are unable to check their biases when it comes to this. And for future Champsgiving things, it might have to be some kind of a popularity weight value or something like that to it, too. Styles and Bray Wyatt, that's easy. Sheamus and Jeff Hardy, that's like, damn, I wouldn't have voted for either of them in round one,
That's a bizarre pairing. I give it to Hardy. That might be me just not checking my bias, but I totally give it to Hardy. I can't stand Sheamus as a world champion. He should have been great. He should have been one of those guys to carry the company, but he really always felt so flat to me.
Well, that's like, no matter who wins that one, they're going to most likely go up against AJ Styles. And then that kind of means that AJ almost has a pretty clear path to AJ Hogan in round 3.
I still give it to Hogan.
I like these matches in round 1 because it's like I don't have to check my biases, so I can just allow my hatred of Jeff Hardy to flow through and just vote Sheamus through.
So we're yin and yang on that one, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Sheamus is a great world champion by any stretch of the imagination. There's no way I'm putting Jeff Hardy through.
And we have an old school matchup here. Pedro Morales against Antonio Inoki. And Antonio Inoki is one of the ones that we need to kind of talk about because WWE does not recognize his title reign as being official. Yet, he is still kind of considered a former WWE champion. They're very, wishy-washy on that. And his title reign only lasted 6 days, so it's kind of inconsequential, but it's still something that has a little bit more weight to it than a lot of the other ones, because I looked at our notes ahead of time, and we had talked about, Owen Hart, for instance. Owen Hart beat Bret Hart on a house show, yet I looked more into it, and the official ruling for that match was the match was then restarted. Not that Bret Hart got a title shot right afterward. So that effectively retconned it, instead of it being Owen Hart won and then he lost the title.
Yeah, it's like the times that Chris Benoit won the WWE Championship, but then the matches were immediately restarted.
With stupid Foley.
So Antonio Inoki, even though he's not an official champion, he still has a little bit of claim to the throne. And because I had 60 people and I needed to fit 4 more spots, it was like, you know what? I'm putting Antonio Inoki in there. And the likelihood that he wins this thing with a 6-day title reign is very, very slim anyway. He'll get, one of those low vote kind of things. And it just happened to be that he goes up against Pedro Morales, which I am not familiar with Pedro Morales' title reign all that much. It's not like, those classic matches with so-and-so, because, that's before my time. But at least there's a little bit of solace to the people that are very old school fans that Morales doesn't get knocked out in the first round, and it's not like everybody who's an older guy gets knocked out in the first round. He did hold the title for a long time.
Morales, I think.
You think?
I think so. I think people are going to look at the names, and they're going to know Inoki, and they're not going to know anything about Morales.
I think they'll know enough about Morales to vote him through this one, but it would be quite interesting to just track his progress for it, because he's in the same, in terms of just title reign length and his significance. He's right up there with someone like Bruno Sammartino, but he's not reverence like Sammartino is.
Right.
So, like, he's probably better known as an Intercontinental Champion than as a WWE Champion. But so it'll be quite interesting to see how far he goes, because based on like just the length of his title reigns, he should be progressing quite far into this tournament. But again, he's not that well known.
And if he does win, he'll be going up against either Yokozuna or King Booker. That'll be interesting.
It's again, Booker T's. I know it's gonna be King Booker because obviously he only won his world championship in WWE as King Booker. But
that's why I specifically put him down as King Booker too, to try to help people with that differentiation.
But he's known as a 5-time WCW champion, whereas his title reign in WWE, while it was okay, was nothing special. Yokozuna at least has claims to be like a really long-standing WWE champion. So I'd probably go Yokozuna anyway.
Yeah, I'm going Yoko here.
So am I, but I could see a lot of people going for King Booker. We got CM Punk against Rob Van Dam. Punk's going to win that one.
That's easy.
Superstar Billy Graham against Psycho Sid.
Main event anywhere in the country, 5-star classic.
I almost kind of just like, all right, we might as well just skip to round 3 because CM Punk wins. You know, Punk's going to beat both of them.
But do most of the people in this tournament have half the brain that Sid does? That's the real question.
Well, he don't know shit, so I don't know.
So yeah, that kind of looks to me like CM Punk against like Pedro or Yoko. And I'm kind of thinking CM Punk is going to get into round 4. We could end up with CM Punk against AJ Styles, CM Punk against Hulk Hogan, that kind of a thing. Punk's going to end up going far from his placement, I think. He's kind of getting like a little bit of a Lucky Batista spot, I think, to a certain, But he did have a long title reign. It's just kind of, there's the popularity factor. There's the, he's fresher. Yeah. Then we have a juggernaut of this, Bob Backlund up against Ted DiBiase, and this is another one we need to clarify. Ted DiBiase is not an official WWE champion, although he was given the championship by Andre the Giant, and they kind of ruled it as like, well, that doesn't really sort of count, and we're going to vacate the title. But the fact that Andre giving away the championship like that meant that the title was vacated, I felt that was cause enough alone to give Ted DiBiase a spot. It's almost as if it's almost like he caused him to vacate it,
And it's also worth noting he did defend it.
Yeah, there is footage of him going on house shows defending the WWE Championship and wearing the WWE Championship. So at least for a short period after the vacancy, they treated him as if he was the WWE Champion.
Right, and then he birthed the whole $1 million championship, and there's a little bit to that. Plus, I knew, generally speaking, everybody would look at that and go, "Well, Ted DiBiase didn't really hold the title all that much. Then, let's vote for Bob Backlund." And you know what? Rather than give Bob Backlund just like a bye round, fuck it, give it to Ted DiBiase. You know what? That'll be interesting. See how many votes Ted gets. Bob Backlund's going to win. He should. I mean, it's just a matter of an official champion who is the 3rd longest reigning of all time, I think.
It would be interesting again to see just how far Bob Backlund goes, because even though he's the 3rd longest holding WWE champion of all time, he's not really that. I mean, he's a bigger name than someone like Pedro Morales, but he was pretty dull. He's like as vanilla as it gets, really. Based on his WWE Championship runs, obviously, when he came back as Mr. Backlund, he had a lot more character and colour to him. But during his main championship run, he was just like the most white meat baby face you could ever hope for. What Super Cena wishes he could be.
We have Roman Reigns versus Chris Benoit.
If there was any match in this tournament that I wish I could actually sit down and watch, it's probably this.
There's a lot of good, these matches would be interesting to see. And
I wonder if Benoit's going to murder the competition here.
I'm assuming people go with Roman Reigns just out of guilt, maybe, but
They should go with Roman Reigns.
I mean, he
It's
is
based on the title reigns as well.
He is, but then there's also going to be people that are going to purposely vote for Chris Benoit because it'll be funny, or they'll vote for Chris Benoit because he's
Roman Reigns.
Right, because he's not Roman. So there's going to be that kind of a thing, and I kind of hope that people don't just go with Benoit because it's anti-Roman.
Well, at the end of the day, like, neither of those two is going to win the whole thing, so
No,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think for people's like sanity, they probably just shouldn't put Benoit through. Not so much just due to the fact of all the horrible things that he did, or the one major horrible thing that he did, but the fact that his title reign just wasn't really that good.
Oh, and
it was a secondary character as well.
To clarify also about the seeding when it comes to AJ Styles and Roman Reigns, the way that I put them out there is I calculated the days that they would be holding the championship up until November 2nd, because we know that they're not going to be defending the titles before then. So that's pretty much a guarantee. Although there is a chance that either of them loses the championship on November 2nd. So I couldn't factor this in as like all the way up until, you know, the potential of them winning until like the end of the Champsgiving tournament. You never really know who's going to win the title. So that was my cutoff day, which means that's where they got placed, because otherwise they would have had some other kind of placement, and then that would have changed the whole thing around. Kind of interesting to see what would have happened if I would have kept it at, like, what's the cutoff of, like, the first day that we start the tournament, which I haven't quite figured out yet. I don't know if I'm going to start that, like, at the end of this week, or if I'm going to start it, like, Tuesday next week, or something like that. I don't know. I'll figure out what works with the metrics and stuff like that, but that's why Roman Reigns gets that spot, and that's why AJ gets his spot. What else we have after this? We have Randy Savage versus Mankind. That would have been a cool feud.
Yeah.
You go Savage on that one.
Probably. Yeah, Savage has to win in this context, but again, wow, what a great match this would have been to actually watch.
Foley had 3 fun title reigns, but like they were all like a week long at most.
I believe I did this once. The combined time Foley was champion is less than a month, and he was champion 3 times.
Mick Foley's combined time was 36 days.
So just over a month. But one of them was a 1-day title reign. They won, obviously, SummerSlam, lost it on Raw. And then he has 2 other ones between, like, The Rock's championship reigns. That's why The Rock has so many title reigns, because Foley kept winning and losing it immediately afterwards. But, yeah, Savage is actually 2 World Championship reigns, but the one in particular is already far exceeds what Mankind had for the title.
How much of this do you think should factor in, like, well, it might not have been a long run, but they had an iconic match. Like, Foley had a championship match during the halftime of the Super Bowl.
Well, I'd value it over certain people. Like Mankind held the title for 36 days, but I'd value him as a more deserving winner of this tournament than Jinder Mahal.
That's exactly the example I was going to go with, because even though you only have 36 days versus Jinder Mahal, which was Jinder Mahal is 170 days. You know, you add 100 and whatever days on top of that, Jinder Mahal's reign was pointless. So
it was 5 times longer, but a million times worse.
Right. So that's where I kind of go with. I go with, like, how many times did they win it? How long did they hold it? How entertaining was that reign? Or, like, all the reigns in general. Because, I mean, some people, like a Triple H, he's held it so many different times that it's like, all right, well, that one title reign sucked at, like, No Mercy. You know what I mean? Or something like that. Like, man, another match that would have been really cool to see if they were in their primes, Kurt Angle versus Dolph Ziggler. Kurt Angle's going to win that one.
Should do, yeah.
We got Brock Lesnar versus Vince McMahon.
we have seen that match.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar will win that one, of course. I mean, just his Universal reign on its own, by pure length, beats Vince. Seth Rollins and Eddie Guerrero, that would be a hell of a match.
And that's probably the biggest dream match for me of all these ones. It's difficult, this one, because, like, again, it's the bias situation of the fact that Eddie Guerrero is one of my favourites of all time. But, like, if you just go by numbers or the significance of title reigns, then Rollins kind of has him beat. But again, that'll just be a momentary, like, in the moment, do I decide to go with the head or the heart? Because they're not going to get any further anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
I love Eddie Guerrero, but I'd be lying if I said his reign was significant outside of the fact that it was like, it's significant in the fact that he won it, and it was like, wow, he actually won the title. But the reign that followed was kind of dull, and it led to fucking JBL.
Yeah, I'm going Rollins too on that one. And then I'd probably go Brock over Rollins, and then, Brock's in round 3 there. Our last 2 matches for the first round will be Edge against Buddy Rogers and Alberto Del Rio against Mark Henry. And I'm just sort of skipping to the end here and saying I can't imagine Buddy Rogers is going to have that many people that are going to stay with the old school. And I can see our round 3 being Brock Lesnar versus Edge.
Yeah, Edge is one of the most winningest world champions of all time. Buddy Rogers, even though he's the first ever champion, like, he didn't hold it for very long at all. He was just there to kind of be an established name to transition it onto Bruno. And then Del Rio and Mark Henry, like, you might as well just kick Del Rio out of this tournament anyways, because it doesn't deserve any better than that. And Mark Henry's reign was, like, a good, like, testament to his career and what he gave WWE, but he shouldn't be beating Edge out for that.
Realistically, I wish Mahal and The Miz, whoever wins that, could face the winner of this, so we just get the absolute worst people out immediately.
Well, I mean, looking at this, we don't have any numbers to go with yet based off of votes because the tournament's not up yet, but our discussion here, I'm thinking that the first quadrant is coming down to Bruno, Undertaker, Michaels, Orton, Flair, and Brett. Right. And that is almost kind of my go-to would be it's probably Bruno. But I can make an argument for a lot of things. I mean, I could see an argument for Brett maybe as number 2, and I could see an argument for... Yeah, you know what? I'd probably say if I were to play around with this a little bit more, Bruno and Brett would be my finals for that section. But that's kind of tough, and I'm imagining Bruno moves it on to the semifinals.
I think it's obviously very likely to be Bruno and Brett. I think Randy Orton has a big shout in this as well.
Yeah, he does.
He'd probably be the third most likely, or just the more dark horse out of them. I don't see, like, it would kind of make sense with Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. I don't see them getting that far. I don't think Undertaker's, like...
No,
as a champion?
Bruno's going to knock them out.
As a champion, like, as a character, he's, like, a huge name, but he's just, like, as a champion, he just never really was that much of a big deal.
Yeah, Bruno's going to knock either of them out.
You'd hope so, but it's kind of a sense of... as the further along you get, the more you start getting more to a sense of, like, it's easier to understand if people want to vote for someone like Michaels, who's more connected to their own childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this tournament. It's gonna show us who our readers are, and, like,
I mean, if they're anything like WWE's demographics, they're all, like, in their 50s and 60s, and then they would just be voting for Sammartino and Morales anyway.
Very true.
I'm still thinking that no matter what, when push comes to shove, Sammartino has the edge in that quadrant. And I'm looking at the other...
Mahal's a dark horse, though.
Yeah, Mahal has a chance. Kane's got a shot. Oh, he's not in that bracket. I think that John Cena and Steve Austin and The Rock against Triple H is like a guarantee. And I think that since Austin and The Rock are going to be going up against each other, it's John Cena and then either Austin or The Rock against Triple H. And I could see... That's tough. If John Cena beats The Rock or Austin, John Cena can beat Triple H. If Austin or The Rock goes up against John Cena, beats him, and it's Austin or The Rock against Triple H, I think Triple H wins.
I'd flip that around, actually. I think if it's Cena Triple H, I think Triple H wins. I think if Triple H is to go up against Austin, then Austin's beating Triple H and The Rock too. The Rock would absolutely beat Triple H.
Yeah, it goes with the old school mentality, a bit more of like the Attitude Era stars being more valuable than John Cena, because John Cena's still, even though it's gone better for like his relationship with the fans, he's still seen as that like the guy to rebel against, really. So I could see Cena losing to a Triple H, and by proxy, obviously, like Steve Austin and The Rock earlier on in the situation. But if it was up to me, I'd go with Cena to get through that section.
So Cena, San Martino, who do you think wins?
Bruno.
Cena, San Martino. Again, need to think about it down the line. There's a lot of factors to consider. I probably would go Bruno, but there's a lot to decide on that one.
I think we're going Hogan, top right. I think, even though he's got his detractors, I think he'll probably still be able to beat Daniel Bryan and still beat AJ Styles.
Who's his biggest competition?
CM Punk.
Yeah, I think, unless maybe some people like value Morales, and I wouldn't like sniff at Superstar Billy Graham's title reigns either, because it's easy to forget the fact that he held the championship for a good year before dropping it to Bob Backlund. And he was like the first real heel to hold the championship for such an extended period of time. So it's unlikely, because he basically looks like an old Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan looks like an old Hulk Hogan. So, but I'd say that CM Punk is probably his biggest competition to get into the final.
I don't know. I think I'd put Bryan as a bigger threat, because I think, depending on who's voting, I think a lot of people are over Punk, and I think a lot of people look at Punk now and they see somebody who was rather overrated. So I don't think he'll have a hard time with Punk.
I'm kind of going to say, like, if Hogan is to get through all that, once to face the next kind of section, then Punk's probably the biggest name out of all those. But I'd say he'd probably get closer votes against Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles.
Then that fourth quadrant, I mean, Randy Savage has a shot, Bob Backlund has a shot, Brock Lesnar, of course, and Edge. I think that those are the top four.
I think Kurt Angle has a big claim to this as well.
I think push comes to shove, Randy Orton's going to beat Angle. Or Randy Savage, I mean.
I think that one will be very close. Kurt Angle has a lot of, obviously Randy Savage's strengths are iconic and he's a huge name, but Kurt Angle has a lot of, well, I can only speak personally, but the sense of, I think Kurt Angle's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. I know that doesn't fit into the WWE Championship thing, but I can see people voting with Angle just because of that reputation that he has.
There's a good chance it might all come down to Savage versus Hogan.
Well, that would be only the one side, though. Even that.
I mean, for that side.
Yeah, for that side, yeah.
Yeah, there's a good shot. It comes down to just them.
I mean, overall, I'm looking at this as I could see the semifinals being Hogan and either Lesnar or Savage, and then like San Martino, Triple H, San Martino, Cena. I still kind of think the two bye rounds might end up being the finals. It might be San Martino, Hogan in the finals.
I think Hogan's got a good shot. I think San Martino has a little stiffer competition, because there's people in there like Flair and Cena, Rock, Austin, Hunter, a lot of people in there. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if I'm looking at the semifinals right now, I'm going to predict San Martino, Cena, Hogan, and I'm actually going to go Lesnar. Is the other one.
See, I don't think Lesnar makes it that far, because I think that's going to be one of those, I want to rebel.
Oh yeah, kind of, but I just don't see Savage doing that. I think there's a really real possibility that Savage gets eliminated by Kurt Angle in round 2.
Push comes to shove, who do you guys think's going to end up winning the whole tournament?
Hogan.
Yep.
You know, if I were to vote right now, I think I would lean towards Hogan as the best champion too.
But that is with obviously with the proviso that people don't want to go against him because obviously he's a racist. So like,
Yeah.
and he's a very polarizing figure right now. So it's the weight of public opinion. If you're going if you want to eliminate all that stuff, then it probably should be Hogan, or Hogan at least should get really close to the final. But you just got to weigh all that stuff together, really.
But I would be so pissed off if it went to somebody like, you know,
Sheamus.
Well, guys like that, obviously, but then a guy like Rock, like we were saying, you know, Rock is a very popular figure, very, you know, one of the greatest names of all time, but he wasn't a great champion, realistically.
This is what you do when you open up to a public vote, Rob. This is how you get Trump into power.
I know, but you see, Callum, we live here. We suffered through that, and I don't want to suffer through that anymore.
It would be amazing if we just like created like a groundswell of support for like Finn Balor to win this thing or whatever.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions. Like, for the Sexiest Superstars tournament, we had Fandango win it. Who do you guys see could be a sleeper pick like that?
So we can go with like a wild card prediction, and whichever one of us gets further, kind of like not so much wins, but just gets to have a bit of bragging rights over it. So we should probably go with someone who's like not obvious in any stretch of the imagination, but someone who we think will cause an upset and get to maybe the second or third round. If I'm looking at that and somebody might cause an upset, there's a few interesting options, but I think I'd probably go with this could bite me in the arse, but I'll say Jeff Hardy. Just the popularity factor of him. I could see him beating Sheamus and then somehow overcoming AJ Styles.
I'm looking at this list and I'm like, you know what? I don't think we're gonna get any kind of standout people like that, but maybe if anybody overreaches, I think that we could see maybe AJ Styles upset Hulk Hogan. And then that'll be like, whoa, didn't see that one coming, that kind of a thing.
And
if
he's one of my favorites, I don't think he's a great champion, but I could see him making it far. Jericho.
Yeah, like Jericho's got that groundswell of support. We did a tournament a couple years ago with a lot less options because it was just WWE champions. And this was back in, let me double check, 2012 is when I did this tournament. The winner ended up being Steve Austin after beating CM Punk in the finals. But that's, of course...
Punk was still in his... Was he still in his title reign at that point? Yeah.
And
yeah, that's very 2012.
He was super popular, and different champions have come in the mix. There's different seeding and all that other kind of stuff. My finals that time ended up being Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, and I went with Hulk Hogan. But looking at the way that kind of played out a little bit, I'm still gonna go. I think that when push comes to shove, people probably should and probably will go Hogan as the winner, but we'll see. And I don't know when I am going to officially create this whole tournament, like the post itself, to be up on the website for you guys to all start voting. But it'll either be sometime over the next couple of days, like the end of this week or the beginning of next week, something like that. So you'll know how things are going pretty soon based off of round one. And this being the first tournament that we can actually have like a seeded type thing, that's going to be really interesting too. I'm excited. I think this will be kind of fun. And it's just a side thing. We're not going to be doing a breakdown every week as a podcast form. So you guys won't be hearing from us again regarding this tournament on the podcast side of things until we do the Champsgiving full recap of the whole tournament. But we'll be chiming in on, different kind of platforms. If I get that Discord open up ahead of time, then that'll be a place to discuss things. If we don't, then, there's the comment section on the pages itself on smarkoutmoment.com, and there's also the Mega Maniacs when I post things on there, the Facebook page, the Twitter. There's lots of ways to express yourself when it comes to these things and make arguments for people too, because if you're really trying to, get the support going for like Randy Savage deserves to be pretty far up there, or like Bret Hart should beat Bruno Sammartino, or like, whatever the case may be like that, drop out your perspectives. Maybe you can sway some people. Yeah, I think that's about it. Anything else you guys want to kind of preview and chat about?
I guess the big thing to say is looking forward to see how this pans out, and don't fuck it up or we won't do it again. Don't just vote for Iron Sheik or Jinder Mahal or Vince McMahon because you think it's be funny, because we won't do it again. It won't come back.
For that matter, too, future editions are going to be a lot shorter because there's a lot less champions to go with for certain things.
Well, no, I'm assuming the next thing we would do is the tag team.
Maybe.
And that's a mess.
The tag team stuff is such a mess that I might not even want to do it.
You'd have like Edge on 6 different things or something.
Right. If you try to factor in each tag team, and you've got then you got to factor in that there's the Raw Tag Team Championship, the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, the Unified Tag Team Championship, the World Tag Team Championship, the WWE Tag Team Championship, all over the place. And you've got
how about European champions?
You got the Highlanders are going to be on a tag team thing. I think probably they might have won.
They never held a title, so it's fine.
Oh, thank God.
Thank God.
But you'd still have to go well, am I going to vote for Epico and Primo?
Deuce and Domino, they could be on it. Yeah. They could win the whole thing.
Well, they're all about cool. I think they're wonderful.
If I have a tag team thing like that, what I'll probably do, because it'll probably be so many people, I'll probably do another qualifying round like what we did for the Sexiest Superstars. It'll probably be look, here's the bottom, 50 people, pick 3. That kind of thing. And just see who gets the most. But we could do Intercontinental Champions. We can do Triple Crown winners. We could do Grand Slam champions. We could do, best WCW champions or best ECW champions. We don't have to stick to WWE pure itself. Now, we're not going to have best, IWGP junior heavyweight champions, because I have no idea who the fuck any of them are.
I knew exactly what you were going to say. Well, I know who they are. I can do that.
And we're not getting best Impact champions, because that's going to be a mess. But there are, some ways to get around things. And
wait. Why wouldn't we do best Impact champions when that includes people like Kurt Angle and Sting, but we would do a tournament that includes David Arquette?
Because it's David Arquette.
And Vince Russo.
Yeah.
No, because it's Impact. That's why.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
You know what would be kind of an interesting one to do, though, in the future? Would be to kind of, play around with some of, the lesser championships, like the best $1 million champion. And make it, a one-day tournament.
Well, that's just
so who's that, then?
Between Ted DiBiase, Steve Austin, and Virgil.
Well, no, you got Ted DiBiase Jr. And Goldust.
That's what I mean. Wouldn't that be kind of you just do a one-day tournament? It's okay, we're going to start this at 8 a.m, and people can vote. And by the end of the night, we're going to know who the champion is. And it'll be I don't know, Thanksgiving is... What's the day that Thanksgiving was always on? The Thursday? Last Thursday, right? Yeah. So do it that Wednesday or something like that. Maybe do a Facebook Live discussion or something we could play around with this. It doesn't have to be a full long tournament type thing. And we could do, we could make a real mess. Best ever hardcore champion. And make that super quick. Because there's been 100 of those. That could be this could be a fun tournament where you can play around with it a little bit more.
It'd be amazing if that was won by Godfather's Hoe.
Yeah, like that could be like a weird scenario like that. If Pete Gas wins or something, like. So that one, that could be kind of fun too. Any suggestions that you guys have for this along the way too, drop them in the comments below and tell me what you think, because I'll backlog them for future years. And if we really end up liking the way that this goes, then Champsgiving will be a regular fall tournament for us.
But really, to echo what Callum said, don't be fucking stupid or we won't do it again.
Yeah.
So if we're going to do a repeat one, then this tournament isn't scheduled for one fall.
Nor does it have too much of a time limit. 6 weeks.
I was hoping for like one fall.
One
repeat,
fall.
But, it's like
Yeah,
there we go.
I would have given it to you, but I would have given it to you, but Tony was like, time limit.
No, I wanted to undercut you. Pulling a Vince McMahon here. You can't do the one fall. Or go 2. Sweet. So
that one actually annoys me.
So, all right, everybody, that is it for our preview. Make sure you pay attention to smarkoutmoment.com. You will see a little sidebar when I post this up. It'll say, Champsgiving tournament, and that'll be where you can click on it. I might probably put a slider up too, just to make that a little bit easier. It'll be on the homepage. You'll find it on like the features and stuff. And have fun over the next couple of weeks. Our next main event for the Smack Dog podcast is the mailbag for next week. So if you have not sent in, this is one of those things where the mailbag needed to come next week because it can't come the next 2 weeks because of Evolution and Crown Jewel. And this is going to be an onslaught. We're going to have those pay-per-views, and then pretty soon after that, we're going to have TakeOver and Survivor Series, and next thing you know, we're going to start getting into the Smark Out Moment End of the Year Awards. It's October. Fuck. 2018's almost over. So we got a lot of stuff coming our way when it comes to that, but mailbag questions is the next. Send in your questions if you have not already submitted them. They are backlogged. I made sure to check every single one of those ahead of time, so I'm not missing any questions this time around like the last time. And you've got a week or so to be able to send them in, because we'll probably either do that Wednesday or Thursday. But send them in as soon as possible. And remember also to not ask too many questions that are dealing with like the pay-per-views themselves. Like, what do you think is going to happen at Evolution? I'm just going to save that for Evolution talk. But in the meantime, if you want to follow us all over the place, subscribe on YouTube and ring the bell for notifications. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Smark Out Moment. Check out smarkoutmoment.com's other material that we've got going on throughout the week. Check out Fanboys Anonymous for my stuff that's happening there. And follow all of us on our Twitter accounts and everything in the description below. I'm going to pass this around. Rob, what do you want to toss out?
Just check out WrestleZone.com. I am doing the news from 12 to 4 p.m. And yesterday I got to do something really cool and review WWE 2K19. So I tell you what I liked about it, what I don't like about it. It's a decent game, I would suggest you purchase it. And other than that, check out timekillerapparel.com and buy a t-shirt. And Callum?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. And at least for the time being, I've been taking over the power rankings. So if you want to find out who's top of WWE's tree at the moment, or if you want me to push a guy or girl to the top, then leave me a message and tell me why that person should be top, and then I'll ignore you and push them to the bottom because I'm that kind of guy. So.
One last thing to talk about, everybody. If you want to see more things like this in the future, more wacky kind of tournaments or different things like that, the best way to motivate all of us is to just, share things and pass the word around and, boost us, get us more subscribers, more viewers, more revenue, technically. If you got a little spare change you want to throw our way directly to influence that, then you can do the Patreon for this and request certain things. Of course, if you get the $20 tier and you go, I want a tournament of the best wrestlers of all time, we have no fucking time to do that. It has to be reasonable. But, if you want it haven't done a heel or face in a while, should we have heel or face Kevin Owens or something like that? You can play around with things like that. The merchandise shop is another way that you can do that. TeePublic and Redbubble. Just head on over there and pick up a t-shirt or something like that. And I think that's about it. So thanks for listening to this, everybody. have fun with the tournament, have fun with everything else, and we will see you next time. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.